Good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to 24 Days of Comfort, a casual tea time check-in every day until Christmas so we can slow down and relax together. Before we get started, let's do a cozy check-in to make sure you are ready and I am ready. So first, get comfortable, find a comfortable seat. Actually, I am going to take the opportunity to grab a little pillow for my butt. Okay, then when you are comfortable, let's take a deep breath together, breathing in through the nose. An extra sip, and out through the mouth. Relaxing tension in the forehead, the eyebrows, the jaw, the neck. Drop your shoulders, sink into your seat, relaxing the back, the hips, the legs, all the way down to your toes. And then, is there anything that you need right now? Do you want to put your phone on Do Not Disturb, grab a hot drink, use the bathroom, dim lights, turn on lights, light a candle? Whatever it is, it's your you time, and I hope that you enjoy. Today we are at my bookshelves. We are doing, as requested, the bookshelf tour, and I'm very excited about it. Before we start, we're going to talk about the tea from my tea advent calendar. We are on day 19. Oh my god. And today is elderberry and angina. Someone told me how to pronounce it and I, again, forgot. The quote behind the tea, I keep forgetting to say the quotes, but they're not that invigorating. It's stay warm with a comforting cup of nature's finest ingredients. I do feel like I've seen that quote before on the calendar, but that's fine. The tea is turning a bit of a pinkish color, and I'm excited. The magic of angina and juicy berries. Okay, juicy. I'm not the biggest fan of berry teas. I think generally my tea opinion is that if there is a melon tea or a peach tea or I don't want it. I don't want it. Strawberry tea, I'm not the biggest fan. I don't like it when they have those flavors. I'm more of like a herbal, minty, gingery type of person. But yeah, this is not too bad. Berry isn't like the lowest on my list, but it's also never going to be a favorite, I think. It does have like a soothing atmosphere to it though. Okay, let's talk about the bookshelf. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be pretty chaotic because I don't often watch these nor make these, I have to admit, so I don't really know how other people are doing it, so we're just gonna wing it. We're going to start just talking about the bookshelf itself. I'm gonna move you up and down a little bit if you don't mind. Don't get dizzy. I'm gonna start at the top. I'll be right here. The bookshelf itself is from IKEA. It's a Billy bookshelf, but I thrifted this a while ago for 17 euros and I'm very happy with that. That is a painting. It's a Van Gogh print. I will put the Guiclet something print. It has a certificate of authenticity. It's a print that has like 400 copies or something. I also thrifted that. Very proud of that. This is a lamp that belongs to my grandma, who's unfortunately no longer with us. This is a candle from my friend Cozy Cabin ASMR. This is a tiny candle of my favorite perfume when I got a refill. It's by the fireplace by Replica. Tonka bean, amber, and patchouli woodwick candle. A hardback cover edition of Love by Toni Morrison, my queen. Fake IKEA plant pot that I got for my birthday from my old roommates. And then we move down to the rest of the bookshelf where the magic happens. So this is not my only bookshelf in my room. My other one we're not really going to visit, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit. It's the bookshelf that I had before that you might have seen in the background of many videos. It was a tall one. It was from Yisk. I got it 3 years ago now, when my reading hobby started getting out of hand and I needed a bookshelf for the first time in my life, and that was very exciting to me. And that bookshelf now holds nonfiction books and educational books and also my cookbooks. Because I now, have been living with my parents, I don't really have my own place for them, so I've just been keeping them there and I'm really happy that they have a place to stay instead of in a box. And then this is my fiction bookshelf. I do have an e-reader. I used to have a Kindle, but now I have a Kobo, but I noticed that I have not been using it as much, but that means that I don't have many physical copies of books in comparison to how much I actually read, because sometimes I read on the e-reader, sometimes I resell books on Vinted. Actually, I do that quite often. The majority of the books that I have are thrifted from Vinted. And then I also have a bunch of books that are living at friends' houses, are in other places in my room as decor. I'm not really going to get into that too much, but if you have heard me talk about a book and you don't see it here, I have either sold it, given it, or borrowed it to a friend, or I have it living somewhere else in my room. I might have lost a book or two in the process. I don't know. So I do have a vague structure on my shelves, but not very, very much, because I just can't be bothered. For decor, we'll start there. I have this village candle, which is a spiced pumpkin, and it's a, well, pumpkin spice candle, pumpkin, cinnamon, vanilla, and ginger. I never light it because it's too, like, this is not high enough to burn candles. Don't do that, guys. And this is an electric candle. Nothing happens, only dust comes out. And then here, I don't even know if you can really see the bottom. Now you get the full shelf, I think. Yeah, here at the bottom I have tiny little fake succulent. A spray that I use when I want to meditate or if my room is stinky. It's nice, it's from Moxie, and it is a room and linen spray in the scent Dream. They sent this to me a while ago. And then I have the deck of tarot cards that I most often use. I don't do tarot that often right now, but this is the Golden Universal deck. They're so beautiful. Well, what came out is the Ten of Pentacles, Ace of Wands. So do with that info what you will. This is what they look like. So pretty, so pretty. I love them. So I really like to use these. I'm definitely still learning how to read tarot. It is why I like to watch other people do tarot readings, where someone is like, this video will find you when you need to hear this and this. And I'm like, ooh, because I like learning how people interpret tarot cards. It's fun. Because if anything ever goes wrong in your life, just blame the universe, okay? Okay, the shelf. The way that I have tried to section it is romance to literary fiction, fantasy, classics. The lines are blurred, but so romance, literary fiction, fantasy, classics. Okay? Okay. So we're going to start at the romance section, the books that I have here. I really try to keep favorites, but I have let go of a couple and I don't know. Starting with the Queen, Emily Henry, I have two books here, which is Happy Place and Funny Story. Happy Place I kept because it is a favorite. Funny Story, it's my most recent Emily Henry read and I had a physical copy. Then I have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, which is the first summer romance that I read and that made me fall in love with love. And I thought this was very wholesome, childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance and all that. Then we have This Summer Will Be Different, and this is a very special copy for me because I got this one when I met a viewer who came from the US, shout out Noah, and he gifted me two books. We hung out, we had tea, we chatted, and then we hit the bookstore. And he gifted me two books, which is this one and one that we'll get to. So this is staying on my shelf forever. It's very special to me. Then we've got One Golden Summer, which was one of my favorite romance reads of the year. I talk about that in my book favorites video. And then we have two books by Caleb Azumah Nelson. If someone asks what's my favorite book, I always say this one, because this is one of the books where I have a couple that for me really mark the moments where I fell in love with reading again after years. And this is one of those books that was like, to me, felt like, you can do that in a book. A book can be all of this. This follows, I'm going to read the back to you in case you haven't heard of it. Two young people meet at a pub in southeast London. Both are black, British, both won scholarships to private schools where they struggled to belong. Both are now artists. He a photographer, she a dancer, trying to make their mark in a city that by turn celebrates and rejects them. Tentatively, tenderly, they fall in love. But two people who seem destined to be together can still be torn apart by fear and violence. At once an achingly beautiful love story and a potent insight into race and masculinity, Open Water asks what it means to be a person in a world that sees you only as a black body, to be vulnerable when you are only respected for strength, to find safety in love only to lose it. With gorgeous, soulful intensity, Caleb Azumah Nelson has written the most essential British debut of recent years. This was his debut novel, and that is crazy to me. This is full of beautiful quotes. I've read it around 4 times. I've underlined so much and annotated it, and it's really, I don't know, it's one of those stories where even though I cannot maybe personally relate to the way that these characters have been treated or are living their lives, I did find pieces of myself in this story, and I think that that's the most beautiful thing about reading, is that it opens up your world to different worlds, different perspectives, and you can always take something out of that. And I just love that this is also very poetically written almost. It has a lot of music references, and I thought that that was so fun and unique and new, and I was just like, oh my god, I love this. So thank you, Jack Edwards, for recommending it and talking about it at some point on the internet. And then this is his second book, Small Worlds. The one thing that can solve Stephen's problems is dancing. Dancing at church, with his parents and brother, the shimmer of black hands raised in praise. He might have lost his faith, but he does believe in rhythm. Dancing with his friends, somewhere in a basement with the drums about to drop while the DJ spins garage cuts. Dancing with his band, making music that speaks not just to the hardships of their lives, but to the joys too. Dancing with his best friend Adeline, two stepping around the living room, crooning and grooving, so close their heads might touch. Dancing alone at home to his father's records, uncovering parts of a man he has never truly known. Stephen has only ever known himself in song, but what becomes of him when the music fades, when his father begins to speak of shame and sacrifice, when his home is no longer his own? Will he find space for himself, a place where he can feel beautiful, a place where he might feel free? Set over the course of 3 summers in Stephen's life, from London to Ghana and back again, Small Worlds is an exhilarating and expansive novel about the worlds we build for ourselves, the worlds we live, dance and love within. Very beautiful. The Gentleman from Peru by André Ansiman. This is a hardcover. I think that this is one of the most beautiful book covers that there is. The book itself is fine, but nothing too crazy. Alone with You in the Ether is a romance that I thought was really beautiful, painful and intense, but also just really beautiful and unique. Olivia Blake really did a very unique job with this book. In a good way. Then we've got 2 books by Toni Morrison. This is Sula and this is Beloved. Highly recommend looking into Toni Morrison, especially if you're into books about culture and family dynamics. And yeah, I think that they are really beautiful. Then we've got Almond, which I really loved. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which is a very sad book about a very peculiar woman, but a very loving woman, and you really, really fall in love with this character. So if you want something that feels like a hug or someone to care about through a book, highly recommend. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Everyone and their mother was talking about this book, I think a year ago. This is the other book that I got gifted from Noah, my friend from the US. So shout out once again. This will also always live on my shelf, and it was a very good read. Cleopatra and Frankenstein. I did not like this book. This one is gonna go. Then we've got The Island Swimmer. Also wasn't very blown away by that. Wouldn't specifically recommend. Then we've got Orlando by Jacqueline Hartman, which I haven't read yet. It's a book on the TBR. It's the first one in a row that I haven't read yet. Then I have I Who Have Never Known Men, which is a dystopian, post-apocalyptic type of literary fiction about women who lived in a basement who never lived with men. And you should really read it. It's not that long, it's intense, it's unique, you'll have a good time. Then we've got Book of Night and Thief of Night by Holly Black. I read the Cruel Prince series and I really liked that, and this is her adult fantasy. And I heard Haley Jean talk about it. Shout out to my queen. And I would really like to read them. I also think that the covers are really beautiful on this. Then behind that we have Girl, Woman, Other. This changed color because it hits sunlight. This is the first literary fiction that got me back into reading. This follows 4 different women in very different stages of their life and live very different lives, but are connected to each other, and I thought that it was beautiful. I would actually really like to reread this because it's been 4 or 5 years almost, and I don't know how I would feel about it now, reading it after so many years, but I think I hope I will make the time for it next year. Then we've got All Fours by Miranda July. She Lives There. One of my favorites. I also talk about it extensively in my favorite books of the year video. And then I've got my Claire Keegan books. Claire Keegan is a short story author and is phenomenal. She's an Irish author, and all her stories are very touching, emotional, well written, very beautiful quotes, tender, to the point sometimes, and sometimes not at all. And I don't know, something about her work I just really, really love, and so I have her books here. And then we make it to the second shelf. Starting here, this is Sarah Winman's Still Life. This follows people at war in 1944 in Italy. And I got this book because I was in Norway last summer on a solo trip, and I met wonderful people at a hostel, and the girl that I spent a lot of time with also loves to read, and she recommended me this book, and I read 37 pages and then I wasn't really feeling it. It wasn't really the time for me, so I put it back. I do think it's very well written. It just takes a little bit of brain power for me to get into this one, so I want to read it when I feel the time and space. The vibe has to be right, and the vibe hasn't been right yet, so I'm saving it for now. But it's always very fun to meet people and talk about books and hear what they like, so it's very special. Then we've got Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, which I read in November and I thought was really good. The Wedding People I also mentioned in my favorites video. I really loved it, highly recommend. Memorial by Brian Washington was my blind date with a book that I did once this year from a local bookstore. So this is about a couple really struggling in their relationship, and then one leaves to go to Japan and the other is left with his mother-in-law. And yeah, this was a very unique concept. I would have never picked this up if it wasn't for the blind date, and I'm glad to have read it, but it is on my Vinted because I'm not going to be reading this again. Then I picked up Norwegian Wood by Murakami at the thrift store. You can see that in my last vlog. I haven't read it yet, but I'm curious to see what all the fuss is about. Then Sandwich by Catherine Newman, which was an amazing read from this past year. Donna Tartt, The Secret History, because, well, duh, and it's really good. Really recommend. I Want to Die, But First I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. I got this at the thrift store as well. Haven't read it yet. Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I didn't like it. It's on my Vinted. I don't really plan on reading it unless I don't sell it. Then we've got Circe and The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Oh my god, if there's one author that I'm waiting to release a new book, it's Madeline Miller. I think it's going to be a little while. But these are 2 Greek mythology retellings. One is about Circe and one is about Patroclus and Achilles, and both had such an impact on me. So I love both for different reasons, but they live here forever on my bookshelf. Then here I have a copy of We Were Liars, and I borrowed this from a friend and I still haven't given it back. And I feel really guilty because we don't talk to each other that much anymore, and it's still here. Should really get on that. But it was a good read. Then we've got Sonny Boy, which is a very popular Dutch book, and I just have never read it, so I found it at the thrift store and was like, well, you know, rite of passage to read it, I guess. These Letters End in Tears, also touching cultural. Two women fall in love in Cameroon. It's illegal. One disappears. One tries to find the other. Khaled Hosseini, Duizend Schitterende Zonnen, 1,000 Suns. I haven't read it yet, but the people say that it's good, so I don't know. Then we've got two books by TJ Klune that I haven't read yet. There was this store called Wandor Books. It was an online bookstore for fantasy, etc. And we did a collaboration at the beginning of 2024. And I got to pick out a bunch of books. I'm very happy that I got to do that. Very grateful. Shout out if you're watching. But The House in the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door. I've only read a couple of pages of this one, but it was a bit too quirky for me. I don't know if I'll get to it, but I also heard really good things about Under the Whispering Door, so I might pick this up at a later time. I'm just holding on to them for when I feel like them. Then here I have The Devouring by R.S. Cunningham, and this got sent to me by the author to read. It's a horror. I've never read a horror before, so I've been putting it off a little bit. My apologies, but I'm a scaredy cat, and it is the December month. It's already dark out. I'm not ready. Then I've got The Women by Kirsten Hanna, which is a book that I still need to get to. I've read a couple pages, it wasn't the right time. Once again, a war story. I really need to be in a specific headspace to get to those. And then I have my Tolkien books. And then The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is beautiful. A woman is cursed. She gets forgotten every time that she leaves the room, so no one remembers her, but she is immortal, and so she lives through many decades, and a lot of it is set in France, and I read it when I was in Paris, so I thought that was really a good experience. And then here we have my classics, because I try to be really smart. I'm gonna move you a little. Yeah, pajama pants reveal. I'm in my pajamas. What about it? Okay. So here I keep my classics. These are all thrifted, and I had a phase where I was reading a lot of classics, and now not so much, but still love them and might pick up all of them someday in my life. This is a collection of William Shakespeare's comedies and tragedies that I found for like €1 or €3 at a thrift store, and I thought that was really fun to have. So that lives there. I'm not going to grab all of them, but here we've got The Scarlet Letter, I've got The Odyssey, Catcher in the Rye, The Color Purple. I'm really interested in reading that soon. Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. This is The Great Gatsby. This is a copy that I got in Australia at a book market. And this is a very special memory because my first ASMR video I read this book, or at least a couple chapters. And I found it while I was with a friend that I'd made there in the Blue Mountains in Australia on a trip. And we were just browsing this market, and I was like, I would love to read The Great Gatsby. And then lo and behold, the first book that I lay my eyes on is The Great Gatsby. So very, very special book to me. Then we've got some Jane Austen. I've got Mansfield Park, Pride and Prejudice, and Emma. I did read Emma and Pride and Prejudice, not Mansfield Park yet. Then we've got Emily Bronte, the Wuthering Heights story. I know that a lot of people loved Wuthering Heights. I just have to be in the right mood to read it, and I just haven't been. Been on my TBR, especially for fall, for consecutive years. But anyway, The Bell Jar. Oh my god. Train wreck, but very interesting, and the fig tree analogy haunts me every day still, so that's great. Daisy Miller by Henry James, which I haven't even read yet, and it's like 2 pages. Then I've got Plato's Symposium, and then my favorite classic, Jane Eyre. I would love to reread this. I love this so much. I also really like these editions. They're the Women's Day editions. The inside is also very cute. And there are multiple of these. Then we have Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. It was a good read. Every character is insufferable in that story, but it's good. Then we've got Rebecca and 1984, which is terrifying, but a good read. If you've never read it, I do highly recommend still reading it. Then I've got Voltaire's Candide. I bought it at Voltaire's house. Subtle flex. And then Sylvia Townsend Warner's Lolly Willows, which is a about a witch in the early days. When I read it, I was kind of out of it and I didn't understand some bits of it, so I would like to reread this again at some point. And then below that, here is The Yellow Wallpaper, which also is a short story and very good and was very impactful in how women's mental health is viewed and seen and treated. So definitely recommend that book. And then here I have some journals. This was my journal from the first half of 2025. And then here I have a journal that I used for morning pages for a while, and they are just there because my reading chair is over there. And then that's everything that's on my bookshelf. All right, like I said, there are still books floating around my room in every corner. Right there I have The Creative Act by Rick Rubin and Little Women. I felt like that was most festive. I didn't really have any Christmassy, holiday-y books, so I chose that one. But I really like The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, by the way. If you are creative and you feel stuck or you feel lonely in your creative pursuits, I highly recommend reading that one. It's very comforting, I think, and inspiring, and you can just pick it up every now and then and read a couple pages. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go and finish my tea. I haven't had a sip. This happens every time. This is a 6. This is a 6. I just really don't like the angina. I had that in the previous tea as well. So all right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you enjoyed, and I will gladly see you tomorrow. Here is a forehead kiss. Bye!